point of our new series where we started a hashtag trend as of like day one of the pandemic, calling it Hacking COVID-19, because it dawned on us before the pandemic was called that things were business as usual was not happening. The moment when, like 2 weeks ago, people started sending out letters or emails saying like, "Hey, are you experiencing flu-like symptoms? Are you, are you free to? Are you good to meet still? Is it safe to meet?" And we knew, like, even before the pandemic was called, we're like, there's going to be a disruption. And when the pandemic hit, like last Monday, things went to chaos, right? Like companies were wiping away 3 months, 6 months worth of product traction going forward. All their meetings, all their meetups, all their events, all the plans went out the window. So we started tracking and talking to companies, having long-form talks about how are you dealing with this disruption in the marketplace? It's like your own company. How are you navigating this? And in essence was, one, show the confusion you're facing, but also what's working for you. And let's broadcast that out so other people can get, one, hope from that, and two, take ideas from that and generate ideas themselves. And that was our hope with it. And now we're streamlining that and getting that up and running. So thank you guys for taking the time out and joining us here today. And thank you again for this great initiative you guys have started. I'm really excited to learn more about it and hopefully help promote it a bit more and get it into the right hands to champion it further. All right. So yeah, let's jump in with that. I know we're already recording right now, and I have you guys here for an hour. So let's jump into one. Who's the team? How you guys got started, and what exactly what problem are you trying to solve?
Yashin, you want to take that?
Yeah. No. Thanks. So I think the real genesis of this idea was, we're exactly how you mentioned. We're seeing this pandemic impact lives on a daily basis. Many different industries, economies. I know a bunch of us have had our businesses impacted tremendously, and it's just something that we never really have, of course, been exposed to before in our lives. And so I think being technologists, entrepreneurs, innovators, engineers, there's always this natural desire to want to solve big problems, put together resources, and use technology to be able to get back to day-to-day or improve day-to-day lives. And so I think, when this pandemic really hit, there is a lot of widespread of information. I think there was getting access to the right information also was a big challenge, using different sources like World Health Organization, different articles, real or fake that you would see online, information that you get from your family members. And I think the real sort of need and urgency was, what is the right information? How can we get it as quick as possible? And so I think for me, I reached out to a group of volunteers, of different engineers, entrepreneurs that I know in the Toronto tech community that I knew that can help contribute to this initiative, which was to build a chatbot where the public here in Toronto, in Ontario, across Canada can simply text a number without having to download any additional applications. And right away, they can receive information on updated cases. They might be able to get information on how to potentially do a self-assessment at home if they may have been exposed to COVID-19 coronavirus. What are the right procedures and steps for self-isolation? And even being, thinking out loud, and this is kind of really where the community came together, is, a lot of ideas started floating around, and having validated it early on with a few healthcare professionals, one of the biggest challenges that they were facing is that their phone lines were being tied up with, their patients, with public reaching out to kind of get a general assessment. And a lot of them were directing them to the nearest hospital or the nearest testing facility. And so that was a big demand in terms of, can we offer the access of that information as quick as possible? And so as the technology evolved, we're now able to let people know where the nearest hospitals or testing facilities are based on their postal code. And I know that, even as every single day, there's different folks across the Toronto tech community that are willing to volunteer their time from, translating some of the language to supporting the development of the chatbot and product itself, to even working to get the word out through the right mediums and platforms. And so it's really impressive to see this group of people, and the goal here is to continue building off of what we've developed from day one, and again, bring the access of this information to the public as quick as possible.
No, absolutely. I think you hit the right problem set there, right? People being confused, needing information, and tying up essential services, calling in different helplines, helping call the city. And again, with the workflow change of people working from home. So even with cities and municipalities and essential services, people are, again, working from home or working minimal hours. They're also adjusting to their work environment and their personal lives. So logistically, it's been a nightmare trying to get information out. Right. And knowing what we know about chatbots, in 2020, chatbots have been around for long enough that people are generally aware of how they function. I think it's a great use case for this. It's a great use case. Now, do you guys envision this being like a ask anything kind of app? Like I can go and talk about my, how is banking going to be affected with this? Is my mortgage going to be deferred or not? Can I ask random questions like that or anything, or is it meant for particular use cases, like for municipalities or essential services?
I think the way we approach it, Ravi, is we wanted to solve the immediate need first, right? So the immediate need right now is there's a need for the public to be able to access a few different critical pieces of information. One is obviously the latest stats, right? Like even the development team, like I was talking to Yashin yesterday, and he was like, I text the number every day to see what the latest numbers are, because we have the latest stats of what the number of cases are, the number of deaths, et cetera, right? So we have that available. And so even that at your fingertips is valuable to the public. And then secondarily as well, and probably more importantly, is the self-assessment piece, right? So the ability for you to go in and go through a series of questionnaires, which currently the only alternative is a bullet point list on a website to answer that interactively, right? And then also we have the ability for you to find out, what's information on self-isolation, et cetera. So we solved that piece first, and then now once that core use case is built, I think we're evolving it to handle like secondary use cases. So now we're thinking about, now that we've identified triaged a person and said, we've helped a person self-assess to the point where they are requiring testing at an assessment center. Obviously, the recommended practice is for a physician or practitioner to actually direct them towards that, right? So we were thinking, how do you create a queue of people who need that, who need access to a provider, like a healthcare provider? And then how do you connect these healthcare providers to it? So rather than them slamming the 811 telehealth line, we create a wait list or a callback list that physicians can plug into and start calling back, right? So when you talk about use cases like, is my mortgage affected, et cetera, I think it's about being purpose-driven and solving the immediate problem. And so if it gets to the point where like the concern about whether or not there's, what to do if you're an SME and you're impacted, if we get to the point where that's the next best problem to solve, 100% that would end up there. Like, what do I do? What are the resources available to me? Maybe we would add a feature or a way for a person to be able to access that.
No, that's great. Absolutely, lean startup framework definitely being applied here. What kind of problems you're going to solve right now, scale it out to the people, and then build on top of it. I definitely can jive with that. Can we talk a little bit more about the team and how you guys coordinate? Because this is like a joint project, basically, of just people in the community coming together, and you're crowdsourcing this, right? Sorry, open sourcing this, so that other developers can jump on, other use cases can be built on top of this as a framework. So can we talk a little bit about that, about the people who came on board and how it's meant to scale as a system?
Maybe I can speak. Maybe I can take that. I mean, to add on to what Dushan said before, is that like you said, depth first. Get an immediate problem and get it to the best of our ability to get it to customers, and then go to breadth, which is all the other stuff, like for example the mortgage stuff, which we are purposefully focused on saying, okay, get the COVID-19 related health impact at risk before we go to anything else. The other is it's also two segment, as in commercial you would say two-sided market. Is we have people, the general consumers, and then we have healthcare providers and infrastructure who's impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So like, Dushan mentioned about the whole trying to get the healthcare provider connected. One of the goals that I saw on this opportunity joining the team is, great, we're giving information to the general public, but what we are doing indirectly is removing that pressure on the healthcare providers and the system overall. Like right now, anyone could be like in panic, tend to run to the physician or the hospital or ER center. You're pretty much loading up that area and then not allowing people who really need that support.
Absolutely.
So now going further to your question around the team coming together, the way, just like how Dushan mentioned and Yashin mentioned, these are a bunch of volunteers. They got hooked into with their passion, like Rakesh and them. People took on their certain ownership to go after, be it PR development, product development, media. So they just came and wore their own hat and said, okay, we're going to go deliver this, right? Yeah. And I see we are operating on a Slack channel, bunch of Slack channels, and then I see people are pretty active, proposing ideas. They on their own going and delivering things. Like, oh, I'm going to go reach out to PR. I'm going to go reach out to this person. I'm going to go deliver this. I'm going to go build this. I'm going to go hook into this service. So I see that interaction happening. Although, like, us four are facing you here, there are like about 18, 20 people are doing stuff behind the scene.
30 people strong today.
Yeah, 30 people on the Slack channel.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually really cool. Like,
it's growing.
And to Rajan's point, like, it's actually really cool to see, because I think anyone who's run a team of like 10 or more knows how hard it is to coordinate activities. This team has had, like, you can almost say there's no real like leadership structure. It's a lot of contribution, and we're so motivated by this like joint passion for this problem that there's no conflict. It's kind of like, what more can we throw on this? Like, hey, we can think of this. Hey, I'm going to do this. There's a lot of volunteer. I think any CEO would be envious of how synergistic this team is.
Yeah.
And then
honestly, you have rightly put it. Sorry, Ravi. Yeah. So just to chip in, I think Dushan has rightly put it. That the way the team is currently functioning and being structured is completely open. Everyone is just chipping in. Like I continuously receive messages from people around, like within the Toronto and around the Toronto. They just want to help. They just say, hey, I can translate for French. We haven't put for Thai, but one of the ladies, she came up and she said, hey, I want to translate these things in Thai. Because, they want to reach out people as much as they can, their own community, because, there are a lot of languages being spoken, and the people right now who are immediately impacted are the people who are seniors, right? Seniors and the kids, and they have more, like the seniors have a higher mortality rates, and definitely the seniors, if you can reach out in their own language, this is the best thing we can offer. And the goal here is, can we reach out, even if we are able to save a single person, that accomplish our mission. Because our mission is to how we can touch people's lives, how we can make the difference in people's lives in whatever we can. It doesn't matter if you develop, if you do PR, or even if you do a translation. It's just one motive. Can we do this, guys? Because if we don't stand up, then who's going to stand up?
Yeah, absolutely. I love the cause-driven aspect behind this, and the fact that you guys are running a distributed team. Like, I'm envious of that. Because like a lot of people, I've been talking to a lot of people who are trying to attempt to do this, us included. Where how do you get a team behind it, and the cause you guys are working on is definitely what's driving all this. But
so the
30 people,
Sorry to interrupt. The vision there is also, can we make it even more distributed? As in, that's where the whole ideation of let's make it open source so that whoever wants to go adopt it. A country, a community, anywhere in the world, who can just simply take what we've done so far and improve it add their translations and then deploy it in their own country and support those locals. There's some interest from the volunteer group where, connected with health officials or, people volunteering from different countries. They ask us, can we use it? Right.
Yeah.
So the team is currently working on, okay, let's make it open source. We put some of the source code into GitHub and made it open. Now let's put together proper documentation so that whoever wants it, they receive a package, they, ship it to whatever the account settings, and then go deploy, and they should be able to spin up that same service for their local community in their languages. They can still use the same model as what we just did, come up with volunteers there, and they can even contribute to what started off here in this forum.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of open source projects, right? People can jump in and continue off what you've built and spin it out into a different product or a different service or addressing a different market. And kudos on you guys for making it. So one of the things that have really galvanized the community behind this is projects like this. Because with the market shutdown and everything like that, there are projects that are emerging that people are looking at it as, what are the impacts I'm creating versus how is this going to create revenue? And one of the beauties behind that is that you're impact driven. And this is a purely impact driven project. And it seems like the team is coming around it. And the reason why you can have 30 people in a Slack group picking up different parts of work and do that, because it's, again, the vision is so pure. So let's talk a little bit about the hurdles you guys are facing, right? I mean, what are things that is preventing you from moving forward, or things you had to go through to get this project up and running?
Well, I think just from the early days. So currently, it's being developed off of Twilio, and putting this out to the masses and getting the type of demand and I guess inquiries that we're getting on the chatbot itself. You can imagine, how much of the capacity it's increasing, and so one challenge was, how do we sustainly and feasibly scale the use of this chatbot off of Twilio. So, a solution that we did was we reached out to Twilio CEO Jeff Lawson directly, and we told him about this initiative. We mentioned that it's a completely voluntary program. A bunch of tech community members in Toronto are volunteering their time to contribute to this project. He put us in touch with, so Twilio has a nonprofit division, twilio.org. They were able to set us up with a bunch of different resources and support systems and discounted credits to be able to continue in maintaining this platform off of Twilio itself. So that was really, really exciting.
Yeah. And I think similarly as well, there's obviously been a number of things, right? So one of the cool features that we have right now is once, the pre-screening questions for any self-assessment questionnaire you find on Health Canada, there's like 2 sets of questions that determine whether or not you're actually in a health emergency, in which case you should route, to 911 or an emergency hospital. We actually have, if you answer yes to those questions, and you should be calling 911, we actually have an option for you to enter your first 3 of your postal code and tell you what the nearest hospital in your radius is, the nearest 3 hospitals in your radius. To create that, there's no table right now that's freely available that has a list of all hospitals in Canada available, right? So we manually collated that service, and we're hoping to serve that up as an open API so anyone else in the future can consume it, and it'll be part of the open source library. But we manually collated that. So we had a volunteer, Jaden, who I think he's currently in the States right now for university, but this guy was up till 4 a.m. scraping that, right? And then to reverse map that from postal code to geolocation, similarly to Twilio, we reached out to a company called OpenCage that does reverse lookups for postal code to geocode. Again, another example of the tech community standing strong. These guys opened up their API to us as well and said, listen, we're going to remove the rate limit for you guys. Go nuts, right? Like, you're trying to do a good cause, go nuts. So it's really cool to see, as much as you're asking, what the hurdles are, every time we come up to an obstacle, the person behind that obstacle is like, yeah, we're here to help. Let's do this. And so the community is coming together. I think the next big obstacle for us is really, success for us. And we've talked about this as a team, is success for us is that we can get this sponsored by the Canadian health officials to say this is this is the place where people should go. That's the next big hurdle, and we're working on that to try to find the right people to get this into the hands of, so that this can be more publicly adopted and more like fastly disseminated across the population.
And just to add to that, on a quick note, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a hurdle per se, but it's incredibly amazing to see, companies that are already in this space, for example, that are providing virtual healthcare, teleconferencing, telehealth, for example, that already, build services to support, what society today has shifted on over the last 10 days. There's so many companies that have different solutions that can support. And I think by no means are we looking to replace existing solutions. And that's why we've built this in the format that we have through our chatbot, through SMS, for example. But I guess this is more of a call out. We're looking to work with all the existing platforms, virtual healthcare, telehealth, other technology platforms that exist in the market today, that we can, further enhance the use case of this tool. And again, just go back to providing that access of care a lot quicker and offloading some of the bandwidth that our healthcare professionals are seeing on the front line. We may not necessarily be on the front line, but we can try our best to support on the back line.
Yeah. And it's cool because one of the metrics that I think it was Rakesh who you were telling me this, or maybe it was one of the other members, but like there is a group of general physicians and people who run general clinics that currently had to close down and go back home, right? And so these guys are all available to provide virtual healthcare. They're not working at the hospitals. They're not the hospital emergency clinic staff. They're actually at home available. And so to Yashin's point, like if we can, there's already solutions that are in place that connect doctors to patients. We can find these people who need immediate assessment and need a physician or a practitioner to say, yes, you need to go to an assessment center. If we can bring these guys via that platform to connect from the demand that we're finding, like that's us solving the load that currently exists on telehealth, on practitioners, on people who are running assessment centers. Like that's kind of like relieving that pressure, right?
Absolutely, because you would pretty much have a pipeline of all the questions and answers people are having around this. Be able to diagnose based off of that and redirect as needed to where it needs to go. Super interesting. That's very interesting. And what I like about this is not only is your team distributed, but the technology and the community you're building around this. Right. It seems to be that's what it is. It's a community kind of coming together. One provide the hard work, like the actual hard skills required to programs to make this. Others the soft skills to galvanize and build a community around this and get it forward. And three is the people who have the resources who can contribute just that. Have any of you have experience working in an environment like this, in a distributed environment where things are not hierarchical, like the CEO telling you what to do? How's that learning curve been?
I think we're all startup guys, so
yeah. Question that all of us probably can chime in. Super quickly from my end, I think just having built my own startup in the past for many years, working with startups, being on the community side, every single day for the last 10 years of my life has been a startup. So there hasn't really been a hierarchy, or there hasn't been direction or leadership or step-by-step process. So I think we're very fortunate that or I'm very fortunate that I'm not the only one in this boat. There's many other people that have the same experience and that have been in this boat before, and we're fortunate that these people are willing to come together with that experience, with that mindset of as soon as I joined the Slack group, how can I hit the ground running? What can I do? It's a give first type of model. And I think, everyone has kind of come in with their own unique way that they can contribute to this project, and work off of that.
Awesome. Just to circle back to a few things you talked about before, about this is really supporting healthcare workers and the frontline, the resources applied to the front line. One of the things about the COVID-19 is it's taken the healthcare services, healthcare workers, and they've become like a front line in this kind of war against this virus. And I think it's entrepreneur.com or a few people in the community that are talking about the innovation community being the second line of defense, who are coming together to build infrastructure, support structures, and projects like this that can help relieve the front line as well as source them and resource them and give them the kind of tools, modern age tools to that they need to kind of take the stress off pretty much legacy systems, healthcare systems, right? You guys mentioned a little bit about having to learn new things, like knowing that there's no database readily available of hospitals. That's kind of terrifying, to be honest, right? Has there been any kind of problem, like anything you had to learn from a healthcare point of view to be able to deliver this? Or has there been healthcare professionals brought in to like help understand the needs of that space?
No, we've got some pretty senior healthcare experienced folk in the team. I think Rakesh, yourself, if I'm not mistaken, you're also kind of part of that space. Maybe you want to talk a bit about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think healthcare. I would say like I work a little bit, but not that much. This is my first experience. But there are something I have been working personally on the consent sides, because there are a lot of activities like the doctors are accessing records, and those records are getting like when those records get accessed, there has to be a proper consent management should be happening. So there are a couple of companies which are already there in the market, but right now I'm looking into in a different ways. There is there is a new kind of technologies which are coming as a self-sovereign identity, and using those technologies, applying these technologies so that they are so fast you do not need to see the ID itself, and you actually activate those consent using your mobile application. So that's what I have been working on this space. I also work in some of the pharmaceutical sites, like where these pharmaceutical companies, when they are actually building the products, they sometimes what happens that some of the informations are not proper. There are informations within the systems which should be actually happen, because when you produce a medicine, you need to make sure the person who was in charge of the that particular time periods or a job schedule, he needs to able to produce those things. So I will not go in that directions, but yeah, I'm touching some healthcare, but not a lot. But there are teams like Manny and the other the members here.
So Manny, So Manny, part of our team, obviously has experience in healthcare. We've got another guy, Sam, who also comes from healthcare. We've got a gentleman named Patrick Lowe, who was a privacy analyst for eHealth Ontario. So there's no shortage of depth of knowledge, depth of awareness of the ecosystem, as well as knowledge in terms of obviously privacy and security is one of the frontmost issues with healthcare, and so we're always making sure we're compliant with that and leading with that, right? So we have technology architects, as you can tell, and this isn't. I guess the cool thing about our team is like it's not to discredit, but this isn't a team of junior people who are new to the industry. This is a team of very experienced senior guys who when you say the word privacy, I come from fintech and banking, and so I know what constitutes PII. We have guys who know what PHI is. We know what the storage requirements are. We know how to avoid making sure that we're not crossing boundaries or stepping too far along into the realm of things that aren't quite allowed, right? So you have a good experienced team from the technology, from privacy, from security, from healthcare, who are able to really come together. So we spend less time spinning and researching and more time building and doing, which is probably why we were able to knock this thing out in 2-3 weeks and really get a production application running in pretty record time, right?
A week and a half.
No, definitely.
It's
been a week and a half. Right. So that's what I want to get to is, when was this project initiated?
Probably when you heard about it.
Friday.
Which is basically last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Cool. Rapid iteration, a rapid response to a rapid crisis developing. What's been the traction? You guys have been on LinkedIn now showcasing this, each individually kind of promoting this. showing who's the faces behind this, showing what the problem set is. What's been some learning points from putting it out there? Has there been anyone who said, hey, you might want to watch out for this, or was it been overwhelming support? How's that traction been?
Yash and Rajan, you guys want to take that? I got some answers, but I'd let you guys.
I have a couple. I mean, most of the sharing that I've done in terms of social media reach, it's driven a lot of volunteers come in and join. That's like part of the reason why I didn't even keep track of the number from 18 to 30 as of today, right? And I saw a bunch of LinkedIn messages. People are saying, "Hey, this is cool. Can I help? This is cool. I can do front end development. I can translate to Mandarin. This is cool. I can do some NLP, machine learning stuff." Like one of the guys who's a visiting researcher at Stanford University messages me, "Hey, I can help you here. Can I do Turkish translation and some development here?" So the part that I've seen more coming out of that is people are jumping in to help. So they're all coming in to help is what I saw. The part I'm looking forward to seeing is, hey, let me go get other people to adopt this. Let me go share it with people. There are a couple of people who reach out to me saying, hey, my sister and I are trying to do something in India because there's some fake news going around. Can I take it and run with it?
Right?
There was another person asked about that for Sri Lanka. So there are people who have asked for their own countries and how they can help. But I'm trying to see how people in Canada or US at a public health level are jumping in and saying, hey, let's go use this, or how can I help there? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. And maybe Yashin or Dushan or Rakesh sees that differently.
Yeah. I guess another question is, how malleable is this? So if it's working on different cell networks, working on different types of phones, different load capacities, right? Like how adjustable is the system you guys are building here? I mean, can you take this and be like, oh, can I deploy it? Can you deploy the bot to, I guess, like Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp? It can be used on different platforms?
Correct. So the way currently it's done is it's channel agnostic. Even though we launched it with voice, IVR and SMS, text messaging, you can easily spin it up on, Facebook Messenger. You can spin it up on Slack. We already have it on Slack where we test our stuff on Slack instead of sending text messages, right?
Yeah.
And we can even put it on WhatsApp. WhatsApp, however, you need to go through formal approval with WhatsApp. We filed an application with them waiting for approval, but we already have it enabled in Sandbox and texting it, right? So we're able to test that and validate it's functional. It's a matter of, how many channels do we go after? So right now our goal is to do, voice, text, WhatsApp, and Slack. That's what's on the roadmap of doing things, but it doesn't prevent people from, firing it up on Facebook Messenger.
Cool.
And Facebook and WhatsApp come as a combination package, right? So once you get the approval for one, you get the approval for both?
No, those are two separate things, but WhatsApp is where they're expecting a proper approval process there.
Oh, got it, okay.
Because it's tied to a phone number.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Like, I know the World Health Organization is launched with the WhatsApp on like a WhatsApp help number, right? I think a similar kind of scope they want to do is the global outreach. Anyone needs help, and WhatsApp is one number, and get help from an assistant, a virtual assistant, on how to proceed and move forward. And so I definitely see the need for this and movement for this, right? So I guess, are you guys ready to launch now? Like, is it usable in the marketplace?
Yeah, it's live.
It's live. You can just, right now, you can pick up your phone and text it and show it to us. You'll see it.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, a week and a half into, guys, that's what I like about this, right? A week and a half, you guys brought in 30 people, all these technology companies providing resources, and you have a functioning like an application in the market, right? I mean, this is a dream for any tech company, and the fact that it's open source is even better. So I know you guys are reaching out now to political leaders to galvanize us within that association, but is there a way to just go straight to public with this and blast it out ourselves?
So sorry, go ahead, Yashin. Go ahead.
We just today we reached out to a few social media pages. One of them on Instagram. So we have it trending on 6buzz TV. They have 1.5 million followers. Really targeting the millennial group. There's a few influential individuals across the Canadian, sports and entertainment and music industry that also follow the page. So we're hoping that, the millennial sort of masses that are keeping up with some news that channels like 6buzz TV are giving out. They'll see the message. They'll adopt, the platform. It'll pick up that usage, and hopefully we can get it trending and also shared and endorsed by other Canadian influencers that can really help us get this initiative across the nation.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I feel like there's a lot of people who want to lend their voice to a project, me being one of them, my team being one of them. Like, one of the reasons we started doing this hashtag COVID-19 thing. This is a fine project. What are people working on right now that are deployable? And as I was speaking earlier with Dushan, what I love about this project is how deployable it is, how it gets real world solutions into people's hands, and it's changeable, right? It's adjustable by the team behind it. So how do we prevent, like, one of the issues, again, human behavior. Trolls are having a field day with all this stuff happening right now. There are people trolling webinars and Zoom calls. They're just taking advantage of the chaos to cause more chaos for the sake of it. Can people mess with the system at all? Like, if it's a completely distributed team and system, can a negative player come in and pop in some false code, some false stuff? Like, how do you guys prevent that?
So sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Dushan.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a distributed team who's working on it, but like any good tech team, we still have centralized pull request reviews. We still have a centralized ownership of the environment. So there's still, it's not a completely trustless system, right? There are still gates that are in place from the people who are quite committed about this, so that we can ensure that as we scale and as we grow, this thing stays safe and usable for the Canadian environment, right? Now, given that it's going to be open source, can someone take this and take it somewhere else? Any open source project has that risk, but for our intents and purposes, what we've done is we've made sure that the structure here and the team, we've centralized the risk so that so the contributions can happen, but the deployment, like, for example, even the way we've set it up, right? We're not deploying to production overnight. We've got a test environment where things get loaded up for test. We've got about 6 people who, at any given time, when someone says something's ready for testing, we all go in and hammer the crap out of the experience, and we make sure it's good to go, and then we give the approval for it to deploy, right? We're like, we've all got experience taking MVPs to market, so we know what the risk could be. So we've set up the structure so that we can limit and mitigate that risk.
And I would like to add a little bit there. So if you see, any open source projects has a lot of contributors, and you have many eyes who are like that are looking at the source code, right? So coming back to that point, like, even if something gets missed, there are people who will be looking at to that source code, and if there is something malleable things is present, they can immediately point it out, and that can get corrected. So that's the beauty of open source projects, like, where everybody brings their own expertise. Like, every people brings a different mindsets, right? Some people are very good in security, some people are very good on DevOps side, some are very good on programming, putting in a patterns and all, right? And those can be easily like consolidated, aggregated together in such a way that when you deliver the product will function as expected to function, and it will have the least problem.
Cool. Just something I wanted to bring up and talk about. Let's step away from the project a little bit and talk a little bit more about personal, about the team, you guys. What are some of the disruptions you guys are facing individually, apart from working on this project, with your own business, with work, and how is that pushing you forward in this time of crisis? So let's start with Rajan.
It's a bit of distracting. I have, fortunately, I'm able to have Slack running on my corporate laptop so I can respond to things. but it definitely is distracting, and especially if I'm in meetings. I have a larger team that I manage, so right, especially with this whole COVID-19 situation, things get escalated really quick.
Yeah.
So I do attend to it, and sometimes I'll joke to Dushan, it's like, how do you manage this throughout the day, right? Like I get like few hours towards the end of the day, I'll focus and look at this more religiously, but rest of the day during the work time, whenever I see like 10-15 minutes, I'll jump into Slack channel and see what's going on, and then see where I can help, and I'll go back to work. Because obviously somebody's paying my check, right? I'm getting my money from a corporate job, and obviously I can't take away my time from there and then contribute to this all the time. Like I briefed my director and senior manager saying, hey, I'm volunteering here, and then they were happy about it. Awesome. The only caution they said is like, this is health related, so be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk about your job here, or
I could
separate?
I could. I mean, I manage a team of about 40 something engineers, with a bunch of teams under me. We work on, again, customer related problems. Essentially, for Amazon, I work in an organization called Customer Engagement Technologies, where when we sell stuff to customers, when there's an issue for that customer, they have to call us or send us messages or whatnot, whatever channel they come through. My organization builds software solutions to address them, essentially solve that problem. So I've been with that organization for about last 2.5 years. When I started in that org, I had about 8 people. Now I have about 40 something.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. So that's a great product background to you, coming from an engineering background you're coming from as well. And how about yourself? Let's move on. Yeah, it's Yadish, right?
Yashin.
Sorry, buddy. Yashin. Okay. How about you?
So I guess like answering your first question, how has this impacted me? I guess in my career, I've been very fortunate enough to be part of an amazing group where we opened a Pico Pizza Bar franchise inside Cherry Gardens Mall. And a week and a half ago, it was very unfortunate that we had to shut down our business inside the mall. Traffic, of course, has dropped by 95%. It wasn't feasible for our business to survive on delivery and takeout only, given that we're inside the mall versus standalone stores that are downtown Toronto that have regular delivery online traffic. It was just a tough decision that we had to make for our business to survive. The mall itself, Cadillac Fairview, is temporarily closed, so we foresee our business being out of operations for at least the next 30 days at minimum, and who knows, I estimate it would take at least 4 to 6 months before we get to even 50 to maybe 60% of traffic that we were seeing prior to that. So definitely, from a financial standpoint or from an economic standpoint, this has impacted one of my businesses. And so, we're checking the news every single day just to find out, what kind of economic programs the government is releasing. We're fortunate that our financial institution that we're working with is giving us some relief. We're waiting every single day to find out different types of financial support programs to cover payroll and other expenses within the business. But we're staying positive. We know that this will pass, and we're excited when doors do open back up. I think this moment, like you start to kind of appreciate the things that maybe you may have taken for granted prior to that. And I'd love to see my customers back at our pizza restaurant as soon as possible. So,
yeah, of course. Hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully. And so
Absolutely.
I think just to echo that, that's what's kind of been a little bit of that fire to constantly in whatever capacity I can support this team, add as many resources as possible, and so we can all work together. We can try and slow down this spread of this virus that we're facing, and hope all of us can return to social gatherings, working in the office with our coworkers and getting back to regular business.
Yeah, definitely. And Dishan, you of course came to the podcast, and some of our viewers will know a little bit more about you. But could you step in a little bit too and talk about how it's affected you and your plans?
Probably had a bit more positive experience than most, to be honest. I've I'm typically not a work from home kind of guy. I like being in the office. I like the FaceTime, but I'll kind of show you my workspace here, but this is kind of like the method behind the madness, right? I was able to convert a wall of mine into like my to-do list, and it's been super productive. I clock in. So to Rajan's point, how do I manage both? Single and I live alone, right? So I got 24 hours a day to do whatever I want on quarantine now, and half of it goes towards KnowledgeHook, which is the company I'm part of, and the other half of it right now goes towards this COVID-19 Toronto bot that we've created, right? So it's been a really cool. I guess I've been so passionate about both causes and working on both that I haven't even noticed the time go by. I think for ourselves as a team, as KnowledgeHook, to be honest, I think everyone is so fired up about what we can do, especially now that, obviously, so there's passion on both sides. There's so passion on this team trying to solve the healthcare impact issue. And then on the KnowledgeHook side, students are remote, teachers are remote, teachers are trying to figure out how to continue education, parents are trying to figure out how to engage their children at home. We've opened up our product to be free. So typically we have a paid platform, but now it's free until the end of the school year, much like a lot of other SaaS companies are doing, right? We're not the only ones doing it, but there's a lot of SaaS companies opening it up. So we've also opened it up as well for teachers to use our platform for free. So now the entire team is, morning to night, the Slack is going off on both channels, COVID and KnowledgeHook, about, how can we better improve our experience for our teachers? How can we better improve our experience for our customers? What can we do to evolve this product? What more can we build? The silver lining around this, very, very unfortunate series of events, I guess, is that it's really been a call to action for people who are able to really step up the people who are able to step up, right? It's obviously unfortunate. There's a lot of people who can't. And, people like in Yashin's situation where you're owning a physical business that relies on foot traffic, it's really unfortunate. But people like us who have online businesses, it's an opportunity for us to step up and really get fired up about what we can do and where we can add value to society.
Yeah, that's great. And Jen, the position you're in right now, it's crazy because you're in both at KnowledgeHook and now with this initiative, you're really at a point where you can drive a lot of change, right? KnowledgeHook, you guys really been on a passion to change how teaching is done, how knowledge transfer is kind of transformed in this new age. And you're in the middle of launching a new product too to help parents better help their own kids with math by learning math themselves. So kudos for you to be part of this team as well, and all of you guys really for putting aside time to find a solution for us all. I know we have one more, Mukesh.
Yeah,
I had to swipe over to see you, man. I'm sorry about that. But
no worries.
I'm going to try more to engage with you. Let's talk a little about yourself. What are you dealing with right now?
Definitely. So coming back to your questions, like how is it impacting? So let me just give you a little bit background about myself. I've been in this computer industries for almost 20 years now, building a lot of products. I build many consumer-facing products. I used to work with the mobile telecom companies called Samsung and LG. Built so many phones. I was almost a decade in South Korea before in 2016 when I moved here in Toronto. And during my whole time period, I have created many commercial applications which are really in the hands of the people. And when I can see those people using those applications, it gives an immense pleasure that I'm giving something back to the societies, and the society is actually using that. And similarly, because of that mindset, when I came here, one of the goals for me was to actually start my own company. And I was doing some bunch of jobs, I did a couple of jobs. And then this year, in the beginning of this year, I left everything. I decided, I was in a very high paying job, doing the best things, working as almost like a CTO. in a company where we were solving the problems for government of Canada. For if you must be knowing about ISET program, where we were actually helping this government to solve the supply chain traceability of the metals, because like back last year, I think in 2018, when President Trump imposed around 25% duty, Canadian government doesn't have any idea like how they can reciprocate on that. So that's the reason like they gave a grant, and I was building the projects. It was amazing projects. I reached to a certain milestones. Similarly, we also like one of the projects I work was on the CBP sides from the U.S. Department for tracing the oil supply chain. So it was amazing things going. And in the beginning of this year, I decided, okay, this is really good things. I can use all the good technologies and all the new blockchain stuff I was doing. Let me start my own things. And I started back like somewhere in the middle of the February when I went to full time in my business. I had a certain projects which I have been working, and I wanted to go into the market and explore it.
Yeah. Has it disrupted your business? Yeah. Has it disrupted what your plans were?
Yeah. So the thing is, my plans were completely disrupted because those two projects, one of the project was in the healthcare. So with my business partner, when I started, I was the first one who started, and he was supposed to join later. But now when I went in, and now when I'm working on these projects, there were a bunch of meetings which is happening every week. And now I can't do any of those meetings and actually market those projects. So I have been, like, I would say a lot more impacts on the way on my current project plans right now. So I really need to decide, because like when I started these things, I went with around 18 months of runway. Now I really need to rethink, can I still do it? And if I can, like, if I want to do it, I need to reduce my timeline to do the same projects, right? So in a sense that it has been impacted a lot. But seeing these projects, like when I came across to these projects, definitely this is one of the things I was very passionate about from my early times, which I was explaining to you, that when I work with the consumer facing projects, it gives some kind of a satisfaction in the mind, in the heart, that you are contributing something to the societies, and when the societies uses it, actually builds the wealth. I built so many phones in my life, like I haven't even had that many phones, my own phone, but I built so many different kind of phones. But like when it comes to using those phones, and when people build the application on top of that, like my team was the first one who actually built the Android operating systems in the Samsung. So I can understand like how much pleasure it gives me when I engage in this kind of social cause or a social wealth kind of problems. And that was one of the reason I'm right now full in whatever I can do from my sides to come and help.
Perfect. I mean, that's really what I commend you guys for, is taking upon the social cause to drive something that betters us all and help, hopefully, like you said earlier, fix problems that can help us end this crisis for us all, right? Get us back to business as usual. One thing I always want to ask before I let you guys go, both the government of Canada, the province of Ontario, and municipalities have opened up, I guess, bids, right, for requests for ideas, requests for things, companies to pitch them almost. It's kind of cool to see the government being super open now to be like, give us some ideas. How can we respond to this better? Have you guys reached out through those programs? Have you applied to those programs? Has there been any turnaround from that? How's the experience been?
So I just chip in for that. That's Ontario Together, and I have reached out to the Ontario government to actually present our case. I haven't heard them back yet, but we are looking forward to hear them back. And I also reach out some of the Peel, the region of Peel here. This is where I am, and try to share the information to the governments. They have escalated to their the next superior, because the people who I spoke to, they were not the decision maker. So we are yet to hear back from them.
Yeah, I mean that's unfortunate thing. Like I think again that's another problem that government's going to face. Is one thing to ask for all this help, but how do you process it and figure things out? And this is really about getting the solution and the ideas behind this to the right key stakeholders who can really push it forward. On my part, before this call actually today, I was actually tagging a few MPs to your post and sending them the links to this, and in the hopes that we can somehow at least a front-facing part of the government will view this. But again, for the implementation, what do you hope to get from the government other than like a cosign, right? Like, is there any particular resource? Do you need them to blast it out? Do you need them to connect you with key infrastructure pieces in healthcare? Is there any particular ask you have from the private province or from the government of Canada?
I think. Sorry, I try to give a pause, but I think what we're looking for right now, to your point, like we don't need resources right now, right? We've got a production app, that's ready for prime time that is in public deployment, right? So what we would need, and I think what we're looking for, is really just the alignment and the support from the government saying, we agree with this being aligned with we built this off the Health Canada requirements. We built this off the province of Ontario Ministry of Health requirements, right? So we're replicating their recommendations. And so I think what we're looking for is an official support saying, yep, you guys are, in line, and we recommend to the public to go to this helpline, to pre-assess and to answer their immediate questions. And then obviously to work with the government and say, listen, what's the next big problem we can tackle? Because this is one problem. And to how we started this conversation, right? We're a team of 30 plus entrepreneurs and technologists and strategists. Like, we don't have to end here. If the next big problem is, one thing that we floated around is how do we help at-risk individuals who shouldn't be leaving their homes, I guess. How do we get them help to, run errands, run groceries, whatever? If the government goes, that's the next big issue, guys. We got 30 people with no egos and a lot of talent who are ready to solve that problem, right? So how do we get lined up with the government to be their SWAT team for technology right now?
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I mean, the power behind that kind of community, I think it really speaks for itself. One, this application got built in a quick time frame, but again, like exactly what you said. I really love the idea that you guys are already thinking about other problems you can solve and how you can position resources you guys have cumulatively been able to attribute together towards solutions that can help us all. So really kudos to you guys, and hopefully we can make some impacts here by this call that we did and promoting on our channels. At BloomX and our team, we're willing to help as much as we can as well. We're really good at making noise, so we'll make some noise for you guys and drive some traffic your way. Hopefully that really gets people listening. And again, guys, great job on all of this, and thank you again for your time, your commitment to solving issues that face us all, and best of luck moving forward, and keep the collective strong.
Before we break, if you don't mind, I just want to make a quick plug. COVID19to.com, at COVID19to, Instagram, web. Please check us out, and that would be very helpful. Yashin, I don't know if you want to make any secondary plugs.
Well, that's it. Yeah, let's get this out to the masses, and thank you, Ravi, so much for having us all to podcast. We really appreciate your support and sharing this with your network. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the number people can text to try this out right now.
Yeah, so there's a number for texting it. I can just read it out if it helps.
We'll post it. We'll post it.
Yeah. 1-888-925-6998.
Perfect.
That's the number.
Live right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Again, thanks, Ravi, for having us. This is really good. I never participated in one of these things before, and it's awesome. Very interactive.
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how to get Rajan on a podcast anyway. So awesome. That's at least is a check mark out of my book as well for this. But
we'll
guys,
do another one. Need it.
We'll do another one, man. We'll do another one. Perfect.
Right.
Yeah, thank you guys. This has been great, and best of luck on the COVID TO project.
Awesome. Stay safe.
Right, awesome.
Thanks a lot,
Thanks.
Ravi.
Wash your hands.
Thank you.
Stay home. Stay home.
Stay home. Stay